All right, welcome back to Living Fit's 2-Minute Tuesdays. Hope everyone's had a great start to the week. So let's get straight into this week's question, which comes from Christine, who asks more about gut issues. So let's put 2 minutes on the clock and we'll see what we can do with this one. All right, so more often than not that most people have some sort of food allergy, food intolerance these days. It seems to be the in thing to have. Most people like to blame something on something. But that being said, gastrointestinal inflammation is one of the number one causes for things like SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or IBS, so irritable bowel syndrome, as well as a myriad of other factors. So how do we address these food allergies or these food intolerances? Now, for most people, it can be as simple as going on an elimination diet or an autoimmune diet protocol. Now, basically what these protocols do is they eliminate the majority of foods that are a problem for the majority of people. So things like eggs, nuts, avocados. Quite often a lot of these foods are dairy. Quite often a lot of these foods are, we'll call them high criminals when it comes to food intolerances and food allergies. Now, when we talk about intolerance and allergies, the easy way to differentiate between them is an allergy can kill you, an intolerance can just make you feel uncomfortable. So when you go, or you can go get a food panel done. Now remember, a food panel is for allergy testing, not intolerance, and they're looking for what they call an IgE response, which is a particular response to a food. But the problem is there are other responses, not just IgE. There are other Ig factors involved. So generally speaking, other Ig factors are more in favor of intolerances, whereas an IgE is an allergy response. Now, just because you don't have an IgE or an allergy response does not mean that you do not have an intolerance to that food, if that makes sense. So you can not be allergic to eggs, but your stomach just doesn't do so well off of them. So you can have an intolerance to eggs. Now, eggs being, while we're on the subject, one of the biggest superfoods on the planet, great protein sources, great ketone sources. You can actually become intolerant of a food by consuming too much of it. So, and we see this, especially with a lot of clients who can't handle meats in the morning and they think, oh, I'll just have eggs every day. And they end up having 2 or 3 eggs every day for the rest of their life. You can become intolerant of eggs. So coming back, if we're looking at things like intolerances and allergies, the best way to get around these is, of course, seek medical intervention first, get a scratch test, know where your start points are. If that's too much for you, then just start eliminating the high culprits, shall we say, the ones that cause the most problem for most people. So things like nuts and seeds, dairy, legumes, many forms of grains, eggs, avocados, etc. Look at autoimmune protocols or elimination diets. Now, the key thing to remember, and I cannot stress this enough, when you finally get a couple of weeks of, we'll call it therapeutic intervention, where you're no longer having loose stools or bad bowel movements or discomfort in the abdominal wall, do not start bringing back everything at once, because then you do not know which food is the culprit. It's quite often it can be a combination of different foods, but more often than not, it's just one or two. So we reintroduce one food at a time. Usually a week is enough. So if you eliminated tomatoes and you love tomatoes and nightshades, reintroduce them in the first week, all right? If you don't have any problems with that, reintroduce the next thing, which could be eggs. It's sort of like people who go out and start exercising, go out and buy all the supplements in the world. You don't know what's working for you. So start with one. If you're getting benefits of that, that's great. Stick with that. Bring something new in. So same thing, titrate them back in. All right, I hope this has helped. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you're enjoying the content, like the page and like the video and share it with anyone who you think might get something out of this. And we'll see you next week for 2 Minute Tuesdays. Thank you.